If your life looks fine, even good on paper, but you still feel empty inside, your brain has switched off your ability to enjoy life. And it will continue to do that until you understand why. I know because I felt dead inside for 20 years. So today I want to explain the real reason why men feel empty inside, something I only understood after studying human emotions for 6 years. Let's start by understanding your emptiness for what it really is. 7 years ago, my life was good. I had a bunch of friends, a loving family, and I even did well in school. But for some reason, nothing truly excited me. Things most men enjoyed, hobbies, socializing, and pursuing goals, all felt like chores I had to do. And because this had been going on for decades, I started believing it's just who I am and how I'm going to feel for the rest of my life. But luckily, I got determined to fix this, to address this. I read dozens of books on psychology and neuroscience of emotions, and I learned that emptiness is not a permanent trait or a defect, but rather your brain's protection mechanism. And that was an eye-opener because a defense mechanism can be turned off. A trait is fixed. This little difference is what helped me heal the emptiness. So let me explain. Have you ever been in an accident and you didn't notice you injured yourself, but you actually had? And later that injury hurt for weeks. That happens because during an accident, your brain releases chemicals to numb the pain for a while. This allows you to focus on survival. Similarly, your brain also has a mechanism, a protection mechanism against overwhelming emotions. When emotions get so intense that you can't deal with them, your brain numbs them. A very relatable example is something that my friend went through recently. His long-term relationship ended and he was in so much pain that he went completely emotionless for a while. But there's a drawback to this protection. The mechanism doesn't just shut off unpleasant emotions like hurt and loneliness, but also pleasant ones like joy and happiness, causing you to feel empty inside no matter how good your life gets outside. Self-help gurus and books keep selling you on the idea that you need to improve more, be more, do more to feel better. But unless your brain shuts this mechanism off, no amount of improvement will actually help you feel alive. Unfortunately, your brain thinks you need this protection all the time, and hence it makes numbness and emptiness your default. So the relevant question then becomes, what overwhelming emotions is your brain protecting you from on a daily basis? For the longest of time, I was convinced that trauma is at the root of emptiness. It makes sense, right? Bad things happen, you feel overwhelmed, your brain protects you through numbness. But I was wrong. Before we move on, if you want more such insights into this numbness and how to heal it, click the link below and every week I'll send you tips and frameworks that are proven to work for men. Let me share what your brain is actually protecting you from. Most men don't know this, but there are two categories of stress or trauma. And if you understand this, you understand the cause of your emptiness. The first one is capital T trauma, that is bad things happening to you like accidents, war, assault, rape, etc. The second is small t trauma, or what psychologists call childhood emotional neglect. That is good things that were supposed to happen to you as a child not happening. I'll share the specific examples in a second, but a very useful way I like to think of the mind is like a house. If capital T trauma is like the harsh weather, bad things happening to the house, small t trauma is the lack of a good foundation. On my healing journey and after coaching clients for hundreds of hours, I realized that small t trauma is the root of all trauma. Because a strong psychological foundation can bear the harshest of weathers, whereas a weak foundation gets fucked by the slightest of winds and rain. Trauma is not the presence of stress, but rather the absence of safety, writes Dr. Gabor Mate, a world-leading trauma expert in his book, The Myth of Normal. The weaker your foundation, the more overwhelmed your brain gets, even by the slightest of emotional stress. A weak foundation, not trauma, is what causes the overactivation of this protection mechanism, until one day, numbness becomes your default. So let me share these absolutely essential needs that will finally help you get the complete picture of your emptiness. Neuroscience calls the first 3 years of your life the critical period for brain development. According to the research by Dr. Erika Komisar, a leading expert on childhood attachment, when your emotional needs are not sufficiently met in this critical period, parts of your brain literally don't develop. These needs include an environment of safety, not conflict, emotional attunement, that is how well parents understand what the child feels, encouragement to express emotions as opposed to being forced to suppress them, especially the negative emotions, being comforted when in stress, helping the child manage difficult emotions, and unconditional love and acceptance. If you want to concretely see the origin of your emptiness, try this mini exercise. Reflect upon these 6 questions and answer them on a scale of 1 to 10. How much conflict was there when you were growing up, including domestic fights and yelling? How often did you feel your emotions were not seen/understood by others? I remember I felt lonely most of the times and no one noticed. How often were you asked to not cry because you are a boy or not feel some other negative emotion? How often were you supported with your negative emotions? I remember instances where I expressed my anger and I was yelled back in return. How often did you deal with stress on your own, like bullying in school? How often did you have to be a certain way, let's say polite or confident, to be liked by your parents? I hope you're starting to see the lack of the emotional foundation we talked about. Neglect is difficult to catch because it's the absence of something. You immediately notice a scratch on your hand, but you aren't aware of vitamin deficiency until maybe some symptoms start to show up after years. Emptiness is your symptom. So if we zoom out, the real reason you feel empty is because your brain's protection mechanism that numbs both unpleasant and pleasant emotions. It's your default because neglected childhood emotional needs leave you with a weak emotional foundation that gets overwhelmed by the slightest of emotional stress. Don't forget to click the link below if you'd like weekly scientific insights into this emptiness along with practical tips to heal it. But if you want to start feeling alive at the level of your brain in just 30 days, click here to watch this video on resetting your dopamine for that very purpose.